Hey guys, so welcome back to Danganronpa 2, Goodbye Despair, and welcome back to Hope's Peak Academy. It's not the real one, of course, it's all glitchy and it's tripping me out. We've got to investigate something. I don't know what it is, but we have to investigate because we need to study for Monokuma's final graduation exam. I don't know what we're supposed to find, but let's talk to Sonia. Does she have any idea what's going on? This hallway, there's a strange feeling to it, no? As if an invisible wall has been erected to limit our movement.
I am concerned.
Is it just me? No, it's definitely not just you. Anyway, I also got a story to tell you guys, really quickly. So, I was on my way home from work today, and I was super excited to record this episode of Danganronpa 2. So I was thinking about it, and I was thinking about how the game got me good with regards to Chiaki being an AI. Like, I'm 98% sure she's an AI. Anyways. And I was thinking, man, you know, a programmer made her. Who could have made her? Could it be Chihiro? No, it can't be. Chihiro's dead, right? Chihiro Fujisaki. Chihiro Fujisaki. And that's when it like clicked. I was like, wait, Chiaki's name is made up of Chihiro Fujisaki's name. The first part of his first name and the last part of his surname. And I was like, oh, that's such a cool Easter egg. But then, that harkens back to my thoughts about Nagito way back in the LP. When I was saying how it's an anagram for Makoto Naegi. And then I got those two leftover letters, D-A, da, right? Whoa. Oh my god. and I was just like, well, if the game's willing to put Easter eggs like Chiaki being Chihiro Fujisaki's name, could Nagito really be Makoto? I don't know, I don't want to think that he's lost his mind completely, but who the heck knows with this game anymore? This is the old biolab, this is where all the corpses were stored. Jeez, I feel like I'm in the Matrix right now. Anyway, so I can't go there. This is the bloody classroom, we can't go in here either. The heck, we're really locked down. I don't think I could go in the garden. I think the dojo's the only place I could go into, right? I wonder if it's still the same. Oh, but yes, I'm super excited. This is so awesome. Goodness me. Is this a dojo? It's full of strange things that make me think there's no way we're inside a school. Perhaps it's a mistake to expect the inside of this building to make sense. If I didn't know that this was what the dojo actually looks like, I'd think it was glitching out as well. But no, in the original game, Trigger Happy Havoc, there were trees, cherry blossoms that were falling down onto the ground. What the hell's that? A book. This is so cool. It's an armor and a helmet. Did the map developers design this to reflect a Japanese dojo? Map developers? What are you talking about? There's a straw post. I guess that means it was used for training. There's the targets. That target seems pretty far away. If the production team had more time. There could have been a mini-game here. What the heck? Hajime, you're talking... Wait, what am I saying? Exactly! You're talking about map designers and programmers? There are a bunch of wooden lockers here. Each of them has a traditional-looking woodblock key sticking out of them. I guess they're just for show. There's nothing in particular that looks like a clue. Nope, there's only one thing. There's surveillance camera. This is a surveillance camera. Why would there be a surveillance camera inside the school? I wonder. Does this have the same purpose as the surveillance cameras on Jabberwock Island? If so, who's watching us? Is it whoever's controlling Monokuma? I wonder if they're in the data lab. I suppose we should look at the trees as well. This cherry tree is in full bloom. It may be a tasteful sight to see a blooming cherry tree inside a dojo, but in this situation it just looks bizarre. Okay, let's look at this. What is it? What is this? Is this a manga? The title is Manga for Morons, A History of Hope's Peak Academy by Monokuma? Why is a manga with such a suspicious-looking title laying out in the open like this? Let's start with history first, class!
Hey,
Reading manga is the third best way to learn about history. Then what's the first, you ask? That depends on the person! So just as I thought, Monokuma made this. That totally explains how suspicious it looks. I really want to just ignore it, but there's no way I can do that. Fine, I'll look at it. I'll look at anything that might be a clue to getting out of here, no matter what it is. Okay, what the hell is this gonna say? I picked up the manga off the floor and started flipping through the pages. It's an introduction to Hope's Peak Academy's history, as narrated by the cutesy character on the cover. Who the heck is that? The story begins with an introduction to Hope's Peak Academy. Hope's Peak Academy is a government-funded school of privilege where only the most talented high school students can hope to attend. And if you got the moolah and some know-how, you can take an entrance exam and become part of the reserve department. Built to raise hope in the nation's future, many of its alumni are key leaders of various industries. New students are chosen through a scouting process, but the ones who scout them are Hope's Peak Academy's teachers, who serve as both educators and researchers of talent. Hope's Peak Academy isn't just a school for talent, it is also a school for researching talent as well. Right, remember Nagito way back when he said that they wanted to research his talent for luck, right? However, for the past few years, Hope's Peak Academy has been suffering from a decline in funding, which is strange. Like, this is the ultimate school. You'd think that they wouldn't be so hard-pressed for cash. If this persists, the Academy believes they will not be able to make progress with their research of talent. So they decided to implement a new system, the Reserve Department. Unlike the main department, who scouts for students, the Reserve Department utilizes a general entrance exam. Normal faculty was hired and placed in charge of looking after the Reserve Department. The expenses and exam fees for the Reserve Department are quite high compared to most high schools. Nevertheless, Hope's Peak Academy received an endless stream of applicants. Hope's Peak Academy was now available to talentless commoners, people who only cared about the brand. They sold out, basically. With this, Hope's Peak Academy managed to amass sizable funds and began further research of talent. To create Hope's Peak Academy's earnest wish, a true genius who would become mankind's hope. Was that really their goal? But just when they thought everything was going well, an unprecedented incident occurred. The incident that triggered the tragedy. The biggest, most awful, most tragic event in human history. That's right. It was the tragedy of Hope's Peak Academy. Hope's Peak Academy was crippled by this incident and was forced to shut down without accomplishing anything. The end. Remember way back in Trigger Happy Havoc, because sometimes I was just like rewatching, or I'm watching other people's LPs because I really enjoy watching. I'm like you guys now. Back when we found the laptop in Chapter 2, we found that letter, right? That letter that said, sorry, not the laptop with Chihiro already on it, but in Chapter 2 itself, when we first went to the library, we found a letter saying Hope's Peak Academy had shut its doors. That must be when the tragedy took place? But, huh? The ending was so sudden, like a manga that's suddenly cancelled in the middle of its run. Plus, these phrases mentioned at the end of this manga, the tragedy and the tragedy of Hope's Peak Academy? These names are so melodramatic. There's no way these incidents really happened, right? This manga only mentions the names, so I don't really know the details, but no. It'd just be a waste of time to wonder about things that don't make sense. More importantly, I learned something because of this manga. The Reserve Department. That department was only built to collect money. I was one of those reserve course students, right?
But hold on.
That's weird. Oh, you're here again.
Shing!
Ah, the thing that's weird is you, of course. Huh?
Hey! Hey!
Why did you forget that you were part of the Reserve Department? Good question. The Future Foundation only took away your school life memories, right? We should have known that we applied to be part of Hope's Peak Academy. We should have at least remembered the entrance exam. But you should have even known, even before you entered, that you had no talent, right? That's also true. But if my school memories were taken away, then I must have hoped that I had one. So, I think it's weird that you actually forgot something like that, too. Do we actually have a talent? We just don't know what it is? Still? What do you want me to say?
By the way...
Based on my assumption, the Future Foundation must have wanted to hide the fact that you were one of those reserve course students. But why am I the only one? What happened to the other students? The other reserve course students? Or you willingly sealed those memories yourself? Huh? You wanted to be confident in yourself, so you wanted to forget everything that embarrassed you. That's what I thought. You know, when humans experience trauma, sometimes they erase their memory of what happened. It happens pretty often. Not that I'd know anything about that, though. Are you saying it's my fault I forgot? That's not it!
Come on!
When things get inconvenient, you always get angry and try to brush it off. Well, that's expected of a Reserve Corps student. Does everyone just have to rub it in? Damn it, what the heck? Ooh, this has got to be our first truth bullet. Reserve Department. So we are collecting truth bullets, we just don't have a Monokuma file this time. Department populated by Reserve Corps students who took general entrance exams, in contrast to the main department, which recruited ultimate level students, established to secure funds for Hope's Peak Academy. Right. What happens if we leave this dojo? Are we going to end up on another floor? Because this was the only thing we could explore, right? Here we go. Nope, still on the 5th floor. Okay. Now what? All the other doors were locked, weren't they? Kazuichi, you're here now. Sonya's gone. Where did she go?
What's going on?
This hallway. It's kinda creepy. I can't go to places that I should be able to go. It's like some rule is being enforced for some reason. It's like there's an invisible wall or something. You're not the first one to say that. But what invisible wall are you talking about? Are you talking about the doors being blocked off? Looks like 5A is open. 5C still locked. And so is the biolab. Jeez. Okay. What's in here then? A violin. Oh, there's a book. Doesn't look like there's anything else that's different. There's the clock. The clock doesn't have any hands. What time is it right now? We can't see outside, so I don't even know if it's day or night right now. It's like we're in the fun house. What's this one? This is another manga. It's laying on top of the desk. This one is Manga for Morons, The Tragedy of Hope's Peak Academy. Wasn't the Tragedy of Hope's Peak Academy mentioned in that other manga too? It's why Hope's Peak Academy went bankrupt, and it was the trigger for the biggest, most tragic, most awful event in human history. If I read this manga, will I be able to learn a little more about that incident? There's only one way to find out. I took the manga from the desk and started flipping through the pages. Who is that? To see what I could learn about the event known as the Tragedy of Hope's Peak Academy. Monokuma also mentioned the main cast, right? But apparently it's just one person. So who are we waiting for? The story made heavy use of outdated, stylized drawings depicting characters solving mysteries. What's written here is, as the name suggests, the tragedy of Hope's Peak Academy occurred at Hope's Peak Academy. The key player in that event was a student named Izuru Kamakura. Wasn't this in the funhouse? The supposed founder of Hope's Peak Academy? The key player in that event was a student named Izuru Kamakura. Izuru was a genius known as a symbol of hope. Hope's Peak Academy used all their resources to develop him. Supposedly, Izuru was a genius among geniuses and possessed various talents. Was that who we were talking as in Chapter 0? Apparently he had the talent of luck as well as other things, possibly. Wielding superior talent for the hope of mankind, the Academy referred to Izuru as the ultimate hope. Huh. To protect such rare talent, the Academy completely concealed all evidence of Izuru's origins and identity. Because of that, most of the students at the Academy were completely unaware of Izuru's existence. Really? But Izuru, who was known as the symbol of hope, was responsible for a horrible incident. I was about to say horrific, sorry. 13 students of Hope's Peak Academy's Student Council, among the Academy's best and brightest, were brutally murdered by Izuru. Is that what happened in that classroom? Are we finally getting the answer? Because there were a lot of bodies in there. However, the incident did not end there. He's a murderer. The Academy tried to protect Izuru's superior talent and conceal the incident as though it never happened. However, a certain student began working in secret to use that incident to their advantage. That student uncovered what the Academy did, and by making that knowledge public, It stoked the fires of Reserve Corps students who had long been dissatisfied with how they'd been treated. And the uprising began. And that heralded Hope's Peak Academy's destruction. This is the entirety of the tragedy of Hope's Peak Academy. Eventually, that incident would lead to that horrifying, devastating incident. The incident that would be known as the biggest, most awful, most tragic event in human history. We're excited. Danganronpa 0. Which is another thing that I can look at, right? I'm going to look at that after I finish Danganronpa 2 though. Apparently there's some spoilers for it. Okay. With a heavy sigh, I close the manga. Am I supposed to believe this? There's no way 13 people were killed at Hope's Peak Academy. What irony! For a genius known as the ultimate Hope to cause such a gruesome incident. A talent like that is too regal for society. It's like trying to buy juice with a bar of gold. You should be lucky that you're incompetent. Damn it! He always has to lead up to something offensive. He seriously pisses me off. But ultimate hope? Nagito mentioned that before too. But it looks like it means something completely different here. Why is it that everyone whose ultimate hope goes insane? What Nagito said was the true meaning of hope. But for Izuru, hope simply means talent. More importantly, a genius who possesses various talents. I wish they'd given me one of those talents so I didn't have to be in the reserve department. That's right, the reserve department. Here, it said that the Reserve Corps students in the reserve department began uprising. Then what about me? Was I a participant too? No, that's not possible. There's no way. I have no reason to do something like that. Tragedy of Hope's Peak has been added. Anyway, I've learned about the tragedy of Hope's Peak Academy, but the biggest, most awful, most tragic event in human history is far worse incident, right? What kind of incident was it? And who's this other student that isn't Izuru? A certain student who secretly used the incident to their advantage. Who is that? Is that going to be Junko and Mukuro? This incident is really messed up, but all it's doing is raising more questions. The mysteries just keep piling up. We're going to have to solve this, Hajime. Okay, now who's up here? Okay, this is getting so interesting. What's open now? 5C still locked down. The garden's still locked down. That must mean the biolab? It's open. I wonder if it looks exactly as it did in the last game. Here we go. Still got that graffiti on it. Yep. Whoa, that manga looks creepy. What the hell is this room? It's freaking cold in here. It's like I'm in the freezer or something. If I just stand still, I might end up freezing to death. I should hurry up and investigate so I can get out of here already. Or... oh, there's a doll. I haven't been looking.
I've been found.
You know what? Let's quickly look at the other ones. Oh, never mind. I can't leave. Refrigerators. I've seen these in movies before. It's a refrigerator for preserving dead bodies. At least, that's what it looks like, but that's not possible, right? Keeping dead bodies in a high school biolab isn't something you should joke about. It just feels so forced. This idea should have been cancelled during development or something. What am I thinking? Yeah, you're talking like you designed this place. The tarps. This looks like a plastic tarp. Why is this left out like this? Clean up after yourselves, will you? Okay. Jeez. There's another manga just laying around here? This time the title is Manga for Morons. The biggest, most awful, most tragic event in human history? I knew it. The next one would obviously be about this incident. The biggest, most awful, most tragic event in human history, huh? It's such a mouthful every time I say it. Just what was that incident really about? It might turn out to be something lame. I flipped through the pages of the manga and hoped that I was right. Oh, this is the same background that happened whenever Nagito started monologuing. A story about creepily drawn characters who get involved in such horrifying incidents. An incident known as the biggest, most awful, most tragic event in human history? Is this drawn so grotesquely because the incident itself is that grotesque? Anyway, the beginning of this creepy manga starts with this sentence. The tragedy of Hope's Peak Academy was simply the trigger. At first, the uprising by the Reserve Corps students that triggered the tragedy of Hope's Peak Academy was initially hoped to be resolved quickly, but the situation continued to escalate to dangerous extremes. The movement started spreading all over the internet and fostered a thriving online community. The community was not limited to students, and people of various races and nations began joining in. But the movement was not confined to the internet, and began spreading and eroding the real world. When the movement started, it was indistinguishable from any other demonstration inspired by social unrest. But as it spread across the world, certain abnormalities soon came to light. By then it was too late. The ends and the means had vanished, and wanton destruction had become their only goal. The strong butchered the weak killed the weakest among them, and soon the weak formed factions to brutally murder the strong. As the violence and death continued to spread, the shock of their actions began to disappear, as if the era was regressing to more uncivilized times, when senseless deaths were the norm, so everyone just got used to it. The media was oversaturated with deaths to the point where people would watch them while enjoying a meal. By the time the world realized what it had become, it was too late to stop what had happened. A feeling of immense despair began spreading, and eventually engulfed the world. Acts of terrorism and coups d'etats began occurring around the world, a war waged in the name of despair. A war fought not for principles, religion, or personal gain, just war, for the sake of it. Pure war. And because of that, there was no way to resolve it. How could a movement started by high school students progress into such a hopeless scenario? How does it get from that point, right? How does it get from high school students to a worldwide catastrophe? The only explanation is the existence of a certain organization devoted to a certain student who influenced Hope's Peak Academy, a group called Ultimate Despair. Instead of using Hope's Peak Academy's talents for the sake of mankind's hope, they used them for the sake of mankind's despair. Key members of society used their influence to brainwash the masses in order to spread despair. Tech-savvy computer programmers wrote software to spread despair. The powerful and influential created new values and morals to spread despair. And with this, they created the tragedy, the biggest, most awful, most tragic event in human history. As long as ultimate despair exists, the despair engulfing the world will never end. The tragedy will never end. My heart was racing in my chest, but my body felt ice cold. So ultimate despair is not just the ultimate fashionista and ultimate soldier. It's other ultimates as well. So, not just common folk are part of ultimate despair, they're all ultimates themselves. And it wasn't because I was freezing in this room. The biggest, most awful, most tragic event in human history? This is definitely all made up. I mean, if this is really true, then what's happening in the outside world? My family, my friends, the convenience store I frequent, the nearby bookstore, my favorite restaurant? What's happened to them?
No way!
Hey! Are you seriously yelling at a manga? How crazy are you? Who would enjoy reading something like this?
What?
Oh my, you don't like manga? A high school student who doesn't like manga is like an office lady who doesn't like to eat candy. Enough. What is this messed up manga? I thought you'd obviously know about such a horrible event that destroyed the world, but for you not to remember that, such despair. Who the heck is controlling you? That's the Future Foundation's fault though, thanks to them stealing your school memories. The incident that happened during that period has been completely removed from your brains. This incident really happened? I actually forgot about it? There's no way that's possible.
What are you saying?
How many times do I have to tell you? All the clues here are real.
Hello.
Please understand, I'm rooting for you. If you don't learn about the full extent of the outside world, you guys will suffer for it. I just want to help you guys so you can live well-adjusted lives in the outside world. Bullshit. No way you're helping us. And why was it necessary for us to be pulled out of the killing school trip when there was only 5 of us left? I see. So that's how it is. That's what he meant by what he said at the beginning. Well, as the headmaster, I'm conflicted, you know. On one hand, I'm really happy that you're finally going to graduate. But on the other hand, I'm worried about whether you guys will be okay in the outside world. That's why I'm thinking about telling you what the outside world is like before you make a decision. Whether you want to leave Jabberwock Island or stay here. He's trying to make us feel despair toward the outside world, so we'll want to stay on this island. But there's no way I'm going to do what he wants. No, it's not that simple. Aren't we supposed to stay on this island? If he really wanted us to not leave, he would just show us what the outside world looks like. He wouldn't give us these mangas just detailing what happened. He's putting enough doubt in our minds that we could potentially not believe what he's writing on these mangas. Despair like that simply can't exist. The outside world should be filled with hope. Just like now. Perhaps... No. That's definitely it. The tragedy has been added. Whether or not this incident really happened, what in the world is this ultimate despair group? If they're devoted to a certain student who guided Hope's Peak Academy to its destruction, are they connected to both the tragedy and the tragedy of Hope's Peak Academy? Plus, that organization isn't just one person, but a group of people. But if they're known as Ultimate Despair, they're high school students, right? If they were actually able to do it, then I guess that's why they were called Ultimates. Then, are the killings we're involved in connected to them as well? It's no use. I'm going to freeze to death. I'm at my limit. I need to get out of here. Shivering, I ran out of the freezing room. Good on you. Phew. That was close. I nearly froze to death. So where should I go next? Well, what else is open now? 5C's still locked. What's the next manga gonna be? 5B looks to be open. The garden must still be closed, yep. We still can't go downstairs. There's no one standing up here. Hang on, let's quickly go back to the dojo real quick. I just want to see if there's a Monokuma doll in here, or if the 5th floor isn't the only floor we're going to be exploring. Pretty sure I would have spotted him, right? No, there's definitely nothing. Okay. Sorry, I just want one chapter where I get them all, right? That would be cool. Let's hit 5A before we hit 5B. But I don't think I saw one in here either. Yeah, no, there isn't. Always pays to check the ceiling. What the heck? Oh man, the game's just like, it's not spoon feeding anymore, it's just shoving it all in my face and I'm just like, oh, I'm like Byakuya in this first like chapter, just like eating those kebabs. Those shish kebabs, sorry. Okay, despair. Fuyuhiko and Monokuma? What are you doing here? No, I should ignore it. I'm just going to pretend I didn't see him. Fuyuhiko! It's just us two in here. When I went inside this room, that bastard bear was suddenly here. Keeps glancing at me. I wonder why. It's gonna be shitty either way.
Damn right.
So I'll let you handle it. There's no way I'm going to deal with that idiot. I don't want to do that either. Well, there's no manga in here, so I don't think we have a choice. Alright, fine. I'll do it.
Hiya!
Why, hello, Hajime! I hope you're doing pleasingly well. Are you pleasingly well? You're pleasingly well, right? What are you doing here?
No, no!
Well, there was another thing I needed to tell you on this floor. I got bored of drawing manga. Can you forgive me for telling you by word of mouth? You should have done that from the beginning. I didn't want to read your manga in the first place. A high school student who doesn't like manga is like a sumo wrestler who doesn't like eating hot pots. I'm getting really fed up with your babbling. Hurry up. What did you need to tell me? It's about that key piece of information you've been waiting so long for.
What?
Surprise! It's about ultimate despair. Ahem. Even though the term ultimate despair refers to a group these days,
Actually...
it was originally the title for a high school girl who was the most powerful, evil, and feared person alive. A high school girl?
Yes, indeed!
Lady Junko Enoshima. Sure. Junko Enoshima?
Hey,
As the former Ultimate Despair, she created a despair brimming with charm and humor. And created the Ultimate Despairs. So she's the true mastermind. She's the true person who created the Ultimate Despair. She wasn't part of the group, she made it, she founded it. There was one really horrible person in that group.
Don't fuck with me!
Hold on a sec. I don't know what that Ultimate Despairs are, but it's not that easy to form an organization. There's no way people would join some fucked up organization created by a high school girl.
Unbelievable.
Humans who are obsessed with their philosophy have an uncanny power to attract others. It's a trait shared by many famous leaders throughout history, right? There's nothing strange about it. That's true.
Hey,
That holds true for Lady Junko. With her charismatic ability to attract people, she even influenced those in the highest echelons of power.
Phew.
I mean, as the ultimate fashionista should have a significant social media influence, right? Her connections were the main reason that incident became the tragedy in the first place. So she even recruited people who would have been in a position to neutralize the threat? So I just realized Hachime was saying that. Anyways.
Huh?
Then what was their purpose?
Huh?
What? Like I said, why did they cause that incident? It doesn't even make sense. They had a purpose, right? There's no way they'd do what they did without any purpose.
Hey,
It was Junko Enoshima's despair. Huh. Some people just want to watch the world burn. For Junko Enoshima, despair isn't about purpose, a set of principles, a way of life, or an instinct. Despair is what defines Junko Enoshima as Junko Enoshima. What are you saying? I'm a stuffed plushie. Hajime is a human. It's exactly like that. Junko Enoshima is full of so much despair that she's truly hopeless. Living, dying, eating, loving, for her, everything is despair. What the hell? With her overwhelming force of personality, Junko recruited the ultimate despairs one by one. She controlled their despair by taking advantage of their love, hate, grudges, anything really. Junko's despair is far more dreadful than any other. That idea has been slammed right into their minds. And so, the ultimate despairs who had been recruited became nothing more than Junko's limbs. All despair, whether it was their own or anyone else's, was dedicated to Junko Enoshima, like believers making offerings to their god, like a mother providing food to her children. They dedicated all despair so they could escape from despair, all in Junko Enoshima's name. For example, they killed their families and friends, and even destroyed their bodies through relentless mutilation. My god. It's a bit much. And to hopelessly top it off, they completely believed it was something that they had to do. How did it get to that? There's no way something that crazy is possible.
what?
Do you know about the final days of the reserve corps students during the tragedy of Hope's Peak Academy? Final days?
In other words,
Junko has the power to change people's values. That is also true of famous people throughout history. Hey, what do you mean final days? What happened to the reserve department?
of course.
They fulfilled their role as disposable limbs. They believed in what they needed to do. And so, the 2,357 students of the reserve department all committed mass suicide. What? Mass suicide?
What'd you say?
All 2,357 students? Oops. It wasn't all of them. One person was excluded. One person was excluded, huh? Is that me?
Damn it.
I don't believe it. There's no way I can believe this. Ultimate despair? Junko Enoshima? It doesn't scare me at all, I mean.
Bastard!
Junko Enoshima is already dead. How do you know? Huh? God, it's her face! Ah, I never wanted to see it ever again! Ultimate despair has been added to the truth bullet section of my handbook. Damn it! I wanted the ultimate hope to be in my truth bullet section, just like in the last game. Reserve department has been updated. No. Everyone committed suicide, but me? What? Why? I have to look at this. The term was adopted by the group responsible for causing the tragedy, but in actuality it originally referred to a certain female high school student named Junko Enoshima. Was it mentioned that Junko died? Otherwise, how does Fuyuhiko know about it?
What?
What a surprise! You want to hear about the ultimate despairs again? No, I don't really need you to.
Hey!
Even though the term ultimate despair refers to a group these days, it was actually a term used to describe Junko Enoshima, the original ultimate despair. He just started on his own. As the former ultimate despair, she created a despair brimming with charm and humor, and created the ultimate despairs. With her charismatic ability to attract people, she even influenced those in the highest echelons of power. Her connections were the main reason that the incident became a tragedy in the first place. It's fine already, you don't have to keep explaining.
What?
Huh? It's fine already? But I'm just getting to the good part! Good part or not, I've already heard this from you before. Phew, I thought I was gonna play through all of that again. Anyway, what do you think, Fuyuhiko? Hey, Fuyuhiko, is it true what you said? Junko Enoshima's really dead?
Huh?
What? You didn't see? There was a book called Manga for Morons, Killing School Life in that bloody classroom. Are we all going in different orders? A bloody classroom? No, wait. What was that you said about the Killing School Life? I haven't read that manga yet. Like the killings we were involved in, there were killings that happened at Hope's Peak Academy. As I recall... are we still talking as Hajime, or was this supposed to be Fuyuhiko? I don't know. Anyway, as I recall, the mastermind took her own life because the remaining students worked together to defeat her. No, Hajime is definitely talking about this. Sorry.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, that's what it was. The Killing School Life ended up failing in the end. As a result, the 6 students who survived managed to escape from the academy.
Hey,
For a manga about the Killing School Life, it was drawn with a lot of silly images and dumb gags. According to that, the mastermind behind the failed Killing School Life was Junko Enoshima. The mastermind took her own life, which means Junko Enoshima's dead.
like...
It turns out that the Killing School Life was part of that whole biggest, most awful, whatever incident. Junko took away the memories of former students of Hope's Peak Academy and forced them to kill each other. Former students of Hope's Peak Academy? And she took away their memories? That's just like us. Apparently, the whole thing was being filmed by surveillance cameras and broadcast worldwide. There's a limit to being a cruel asshole. The surveillance cameras were broadcasting the whole thing?
So...
The students of Hope's Peak Academy were widely known as symbols of hope. By forcing people to watch these symbols of hope kill each other for the sake of survival, they were trying to fill everyone who watched the broadcast with despair all at once. That's messed up. But that messed up plan was stopped. Junko Enoshima failed. Junko lost to the students she placed in her trap. After being overcome by the despair she created, she took her own life. Then Junko was no more. Right, Monokuma? No matter how horrible she was, there's no reason to fear someone who's dead. Whether Monokuma's story is true or not doesn't matter.
Bastard!
Junko Enoshima isn't alive anymore. Then, who is our enemy? If Junko Enoshima is already dead, are the rest of the Ultimate Despairs behind this? Are the followers of Junko carrying out her will? That's the only thing I can think of. But she acted alone during the Killing School game. I mean, the killings we're involved in resembled that Killing School Life. Well, I don't know who the hell is imitating Junko and making us go through this, but an imitation is just that. An imitation.
No shit!
If the students from Hope's Peak Academy stop the real deal, there's no way we'll lose to some fake. But if this is really an imitation, are those surveillance cameras the same too? The cameras all over Jabberwock Island. Are they broadcasting to somewhere? Just like the surveillance cameras during the Killing School Life? Killing School Life has been added. And Ultimate Despair has been updated. Man, Hajime! You totally know about that story, huh? What? Do you have a problem with that? Well, I really wanted you to read the manga version since I took the time to draw it.
What are you gonna do?
Oh well, I'll just raise the flag. Flag? What do you mean, raise the flag? What's going to happen if you do that?
Ooh,
One
how
step at a time.
exciting.
You're getting closer to clearing my character route. You're not making sense again. Are we all supposed to have our own clues that we follow and then we contribute together at the class trial? Or
Well,
the
now.
graduation exam? I'm gonna guess it's an actual trial. Now then, I'll give you guys my all. I'll tell you everything I know, including information on the outside and the inside.
Yeah!
I'll raise them flags like crazy. Really? Then spill your guts.